There are many characters that are available in Greedisgood, and one of them is the warrior named Bowen, whose skills are highly similar to the Barbarian from Dark and Darker. In this video, I'll give my judgment on each skills this character has, and also the equipments it gets to use. At level 1, the warrior is given access to 2 active skills called Rage Blood and Terrifying Presence, whilst also getting 2 passives called Robust Constitution and Savage Strength. You get to unlock the 3rd passive slot at level 3 and the 4th one at level 10. First things first, let's talk about active skills. Rage Blood is an active skill that increases your move speed by 20%, damage by 10%, health by 10%, and reduces your armor rating by 20% for 6 seconds. I think it's a very powerful skill for a more offense-oriented warrior build, but it does become less efficient the lesser speed you have. The armor rating penalty it imposes on you is rather negligible in shirtless builds, but it does start to be noticeable if you go for a tanky warrior build. Terrifying Presence lets you scare off enemy mobs for 3 seconds and also reduces their damage output by 25% for 6 seconds with a range of 7.5 meters. This is a great skill for debuffing enemies and also helps scare off enemies that are attacking you or your allies. Commanding Shout, unlocked at level 5, is a skill that helps buff you and your teammates by giving them 25% extra health for 7 seconds. I don't really like this skill since I often fight alone in these games, and by default you get more tankiness from Terrifying Presence anyways. Reckless Assault, a skill that's unlocked at level 10, allows you to ignore 75% of your target's armor at the cost of lessening your armor rating by 55 points. This skill may seem insanely powerful, but one has to remember that Bowen is the slowest character in the game and can be easily kited if you are not careful with your swings. It's also important to remember that it is possible to go beneath 0 in armor rating, which in turn increases the physical damage you take as long as you have the skill activated and you haven't struck anything yet. An easy way to make use of the skill is to activate it just after you strike a player with the first attack of a combo, so that the second strike is imbued with the effect of Reckless Assault. Unlike the assassin skill called Armor Break, this skill is useless against mobs since mobs don't have armor, which is a shame since this is the only warrior skill that doesn't involve screaming. And that's for active skills. Now for the passives. Robust Constitution is a passive that you get at the start, which increases your hit points by 10%. This is a great passive to have in this game since warriors have a lot of hit points by default, combined with how head, chest and leg armors in this game also increase your hit points regardless of enchantment. Savage Strength gives you 10% extra physical damage at the cost of it only being active when you don't wear a shirt. Early on, when you only have black and white armor, this is a net positive since speed is more important. But as you get better gear, this starts to become a liability since chest armor not only significantly contributes to physical resistance, warriors also get to have the best heavy armor in the game, with the least amount of speed penalty. At level 3, the warrior unlocks Axe Proficiency skill that increases physical damage by 5% when wielding axes. A great passive to have, since the best warrior weapons are axes anyways. Iron Will grants you 120 magic resistance and is unlocked at level 8. Before getting this, the warrior barely has any counterplay to wizards, since he is the slowest character in the game and has no ranged weapons besides throwing axes or knives. And those cost a lot and are unusable once they land on an opponent. I find this passive to be excellent since wizards have really annoying and damaging spells. Berserker, unlocked at level 13, is a passive skill that gives you up to 30% extra physical attack the lower your HP gets. This is a fantastic passive skill, since it really helps you trade hits against enemies and makes you insanely lethal when you do get in range. It also helps that every chest, head and leg armor in this game gives you extra hit points, so you get to use Berserker a lot more often. If you want to compensate for the warrior's abysmal interaction speed, you can use Crushing Impact that's unlocked at level 18. I really like this skill personally since it lets me break open doors and chests that lets me save a lot of time between map shrinks. And that's for skills. For equipment, warriors get to use 4 kinds of axes and also 2 other two-handed weapons in game. So far, 100 axes are the best choice for the warrior since they don't penalize the warrior as much in speed. but also that they are easier to use reckless assault with compared to two-handed weapons due to their rapid combos. Even if you don't like using it against other players, poleaxe and war axe are able to break doors and chests in one hit with crushing impact instead of 3 or more hits when used with one-handed axes. War maul and greatsword, on the other hand, are also usable, but these don't work with crushing impact, and their left-click attacks are horizontal swings, which makes them more prone to hitting other melee teammates or even walls if you're in corridors. War maul has insanely high damage, but it also has the highest speed penalty in the game, so it may take a while for you to learn how to not get kited when wielding these against human opponents. So far, I find Warrior to be the weakest class starting out for PvP, since his free equipment consists of a two-handed weapon, plus he lacks the speed to make up for being kited. Unlike the tank class, Warrior lacks self-sustain nor the ability to wield ranged weapons. And unlike the assassin class, he doesn't have a way to escape enemies that do catch the warrior off guard, nor a way to close in the gap when faced against ranged enemies without taking significant amounts of damage, like the assassin's hide skill. Still, if you're patient with the warrior, you'll find that he grows exponentially more powerful as he levels up, and that his gear is very cheap since people tend to not like his playstyle. And that's what I can say about the warrior. If this video was useful or at the very least amusing, do subscribe, and as always, have a great time.